quick note before I get started. I had my fan on while I recorded this, and I didn't think about it, but you can hear the fan throughout the whole episode. So that's what that sound is. Hello, welcome back to Casablanca. In this episode, I'm covering Ernest Saves Christmas, which is a 1988 comedy directed by John Cherry and starring Jim Varney, Douglas Seale, and Noelle Parker. It's also the second film in the Ernest series. Hard to believe that this is the second one, because the first one was Ernest Goes to Camp. And then they go straight to this one, which very tonally different, which obviously, because, that was set in the summer during camp, and this one's set at Christmas. The one after this was Ernest Goes to Jail, followed by Ernest Saves Stupid, which I did for my Halloween episode. Ernest Rides Again, Ernest Goes to School, Slam Dunk Ernest, Ernest Goes to Africa, and then Ernest in the Army. And then, sadly, Jim Varney passed away, so they didn't do more than that. But there were talks with somebody says, Coke Sam's said in 2011 that Ernest spaced out. It would have gone as far as a film treatment. Apparently that one was set in space. So, every series, if it goes on long enough, eventually goes to space. So, as you can see, for my Halloween episode, I did Ernest Scared Stupid. When I was a kid, I called it Ernest Scared Stupid, and I know it's called Ernest Scared Stupid, but I still, I can't get out of that habit. I still call it Ernest Scared Stupid. That's the fourth one, and that was my Halloween episode, and you're probably... you probably don't know this. You're probably watching this, listening to this much later on. If you're finding this years down the road or something, or maybe you don't pay attention to my posting schedule. I usually post every Sunday, and so for with the Halloween episode, I posted that Sunday, the Ring episode, and then I posted Ernest Scared Stupid on Halloween, which I believe was on a Wednesday or a Tuesday, and so I basically did 2 episodes that week. Well, for this, Christmas Eve was Sunday, which is my normal posting day, and I didn't want to do 2 episodes in a row, back to back, 2 days, so I went ahead and not posted on Sunday, and I'm posting this on Christmas Day for the Christmas episode. So I did an Ernest movie for Halloween and for Christmas. So, yeah. I want to try to do that. That's not something I'm going to be able to do very often. There's not a whole lot of series that had a Halloween and a Christmas movie. So, I think the closest I could have came was Nightmare Before Christmas. Like I said a couple episodes back. I could have done that, in between the 2 holidays. But, yeah. I did it when I did. And... yeah. Anyway, moving on to the movie itself. It starts out, the film basically opens with Ernest straight up killing a guy. Yeah, you didn't think it was gonna go that way. So, he's a cab driver, and, to this day, the way he sings Christmas Tree is the way I sing Christmas Tree. The film opens, he was like, oh Christmas tree, 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 oh Christmas tree. Yeah, because I don't know the lyrics, and that's all I know is oh Christmas tree, and it fits. So yeah. But anyway, so he's trying to get this rider to the airport fast, and the guy's like, "Hey, buddy, can we hurry it up? I got a plane to catch." And so Ernest's like, don't worry, I'll get you there in no time. And he's like weaving in and out of traffic. And the guy's like, the guy should have worn a seatbelt. He really should have worn a seatbelt. He's sliding back and forth. And then he flies out of the car. And Ernest was like, oh, don't worry, I'll get you. And then he runs to him. And the guy's like, his eyes are like wide open. And Ernest carries him to the car. He's not moving. He's stiff as a board. And I've always just assumed that the guy was dead. And I always thought, Ernest just killed a guy. And no one said anything. He gets him to the airport. He puts him on a wheelchair, I believe. And then there's like a wheelchair just there at the airport. Which, I don't know, actually, that makes sense. That's the thing that I think happens. So he, instead of wheeling him to the terminal, he kind of accidentally throws him into the baggage chute thing, and he's like throws the guy's stuff in after him. And it wasn't until this time, I hadn't seen this movie in a long time. It's the first time I'd seen it in forever, and it wasn't until this time watching it I realized I don't think the guy was dead. Because, or maybe they added this so that the people weren't too worried. Because like when Ernest tries to get him out of the car, he like keeps hitting his head on the door frame, and the guy's like, like making noises. And so like he occasionally makes those kind of noises the whole time his eyes are like wide open, like he's dead. And I don't know if they filmed it without the sound, and then people were like, oh, he just killed a guy, and that's all they could think about. And then they like did like the dubbing over with the sounds, like, oh, the guy's still alive, okay, it's good. But I just thought it was kind of funny. Speaking of not seeing this for a while, I grew up with this one. Like I saw this one before I saw Ernest Scared Stupid. I saw this one. This is actually one of the first movies I remember seeing. And we had it on a VHS tape recorded off TV. So that's the only version I ever saw until now. And which is funny because like there's parts where I remember it cuts to commercial and we would catch like a few seconds of the commercial, then it would cut back to the movie. And so it gets to those parts and I'm like, hey, where did... Oh, yeah, that's right. This is Disney Plus. So they're not going to have those scenes. And so, like, I'm used to seeing it with, like, lines and stuff. And I've seen it, like, a million times as a kid. So that VHS got worn out. So, like, what I remember of it is, like, a worn-out VHS tape that was already low quality to begin with. And got even lower quality as time went on because I watched it so much. And then I watch it in HD on Disney Plus. And it's like, wow, this is so amazing. But yeah, this movie was definitely pre 9/11. I mean, obviously it was 1988, which, by the way, is the year I was born. So that's a thing. Anyway, it's definitely pre 9/11 because Santa Claus, he's played by Douglas Seale, who is the voice of Sultan from Aladdin. And he's also the perfect Santa. I think he is probably... He's one of my favorite Santa. I think my favorite Santa ever is Tim Allen's Santa, followed very closely by Douglas Seale's Santa. Anyway, so he goes through the I was going to say TSA agent, but that wasn't a thing at the time, and they're not at a counter. The TSA is like standing around like a security guard. He goes through like I don't know. I don't really deal with the airports. When I do order tickets to fly, I do it online, so I get to skip all of that. Like the customer service desk at the airport. And I don't know the name of the airport, but it does take place in Orlando, so like that airport. I think a lot of these scenes like that were filmed on location. There's a children's museum. It's filmed on location at that children's museum, I believe. I heard something like that. I think the only thing that wasn't filmed on location was Ernest's house, which was filmed on the back lot of the studio. I think it was Warner. I read this the other day, and I didn't put it in my notes because I'm like, oh, I'll remember, and I didn't remember exactly. But I do remember thinking, because like it was used, Ernest's house was used in other movies, and it had a list of some of them, which again I don't remember. What I do remember is while I'm reading it, I'm thinking, oh, I wonder what it looks like now. Like, what movies could they like film something in now? But that's not going to happen because unfortunately it burned down in 2002. So yeah, Ernest's house is gone. But the reason I say it's definitely pre 9/11 because Santa is talking to the customer service desk at the airport, and he shows him his ID, and it's picture of him in Santa outfit, and it says Santa Claus, and he goes, "Is this your real name?" Well, that's what I go by. And he looks around at like all these characters, and he goes, "Yeah, why not? It's Christmas." He stamps it and then hands it back to him. No, if this was now, it would be like, we're gonna have you over here and like question you. And then like as he walks away, he's like, thanks, Skippy. And the guy's like, oh, so it's like that's his name. He comes back again later, and the Santa's elves are going through the line, and they give him his ID and their IDs, and it was the same thing. I couldn't read the names of the elves, but it was like them as elves. And then he looks up, and they're like, they're elves, and he's like, I hate this job, and he stamps it and gives it to them. Yeah, no, that definitely wouldn't work today. But also, speaking of wouldn't work today, is this the way government really works scene? Ernest and Harmony, played by Noelle Parker, go into, well, she calls herself Harmony, but her name's Pamela. It's a long story. You gotta watch it. I recommend watching it. They go to get Santa out of jail, which, if you've never seen this, I was like, that's a jump. Like, how do you go from the airport to jail? Because Santa straight up murders a guy. He makes a candy cane into like a sharp, pointy thing, and then he like stabs a guy in the eye. Okay, no, that's not what happened. He goes to the Children's Museum, talks to Joe Carruthers, played by Oliver Clark. He's trying to tell them that you're going to be the new Santa. They think he's crazy, so they had the police come to pick him up. Ernest and Harmony, I'm just going to call her Harmony because that's what she goes by in here. And it's not till the end. Well, you find out halfway through that her name's Pamela, but she's like, oh, no, that's somebody else. Yeah, that's not me. I'm Harmony. So I'm going to call her Harmony. They go to the police station to try to talk him out, and Ernest, one of his things is costumes and characters. So he's like, I'm here from the governor's office to do an inspection of this prison or this jailhouse or whatever. And Harmony's dressed with like pigtails and stuff. He's the governor's niece, and she's acting all cute and stuff. And he's like, oh, this is the governor's niece. She's writing a book. She's writing a report for her high school class or whatever. And you think she's like ditzy and stuff, but she's like asking like real questions, like, were you elected into this position, or were you did you pay your way in, or something like that? I was like, See, these are the kind of jokes that, like, as a kid, I didn't understand. I'm like, I don't know what she's saying. My parents would laugh. And I was like, I don't know what she just said. It didn't make any sense. But I'm watching it now, that's probably the funniest part of the movie. Like, there's a lot of funny parts of this movie, but now that I'm an adult and get these jokes, that's the funniest part of the movie for me, is the things that she says to the police. And it's like she like yells at the cop at one point in that scene, like, is this the way government really works? But yeah, they get him out of prison or jail or whatever. Santa's in the slammer. I did notice something with this time, and I did a TikTok about it, and my sister actually commented, and she was like, you probably didn't notice because the copy we had was low quality VHS. And I'm like, you're right. And the scene where he goes back to this children's museum, and he's like, I'm trying to look for my friend. Oh, what's his name? Santa Claus. What was that? Santa Claus. I didn't catch that. His name is Santa Claus. And like the kids laugh at us. Yeah, and he like says something to the kids. In that scene, Jim Varney's eye, his left eye, is bloodshot. And I obviously didn't notice that before as a kid because it was a VHS copy and you couldn't see it that clearly. But in HD on Disney Plus, I could see it clearly. And I did a little video about it. I'm like, hey, what's wrong? What's going on here? And like nobody said anything. I looked into it. I literally paused the movie for like half an hour trying to do some research and like maybe he did an interview and he was like, oh, I was stressed, I was sick, it was pink eye, something. Nobody mentioned it anywhere. I think I'm the first person to ever notice it, and he never talked about it. So yeah, unless somebody did talk about it and I didn't see it, because I was looking on like Surface websites, like Reddit and Facebook and stuff. There's probably like some Ernest blog thing, some deeper down than surface level sites, not the deep web. I'm not going to search the deep web for Ernest info. I'm sure the Ernest info they have is stuff I don't want to know. But yeah, Joe Carruthers, I was going to say lawyer, but I think he's his manager or agent or something. His name is Marty Brock, played by Robert Lesser. When I think, all my life, when I think of like scummy like agents or lawyers or anything, I think of him, because this guy just, like I was going to say he just wants to make money, which is, I guess that's most people. If there's an antagonist in this movie, I say it's him. Because like he's the one that has Santa sent to jail. Because he actually interrupts Santa Claus talking to Joe Carruthers, and is like, he calls him Mr. Santos because he misunderstands, and he keeps saying something Mr. Santos, Mr. Santos, da 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 da, Mr. Santos, my name is Santa Claus. And that's when he's like, oh, you're one of those, and calls the cops. Did you really think that's necessary? There's another character in here named Mary Morrissey. She says her name at the end. It's hard to understand. I wasn't specifically listening to her to say it. I was like yeah. I feel like I've seen her in something else. Her name is Billy Bird. I looked at her Wikipedia and her like filmography and stuff, and I don't really recognize anything she's been in. She passed away in 2002, and Douglas Seale passed away, and I think it's 1999. Let me look at his page. 1999, unfortunately. Wait, actually, hang on. Let me see something. I didn't even think of that. He passed away June 13th, 1999, and Jim Varney passed away February 10th, 2000. Oh, 2000. For some reason, I thought he passed away in 1999. Did I say that in the Ernest Scared Stupid episode? If so, then I forgot already. I do. This is like an obvious thing. I wish he hadn't passed away. I wish Jim Varney hadn't passed away because, first off, I don't wish death on anyone, especially someone like Jim Varney. But I just know that had he not, we would still be getting Ernest movies to this day, and I would love to see an Ernest movie today. Speaking of my sister who commented that video about Ernest, she actually messaged me a while back about a TikTok channel, @_JustJimmy. He does Ernest impressions and he's dead on.
Hello. So I thought we would do something fun on here. I love reading to my 2-year-old daughter, and this book is called Night Night Pumpkin. It's funny because every time I say, Night Night Pumpkin, she'll say, bye. It's adorable. So if you have chillins, sit them down and let's enjoy the book. cooler winds whistling.
Okay, that's his normal voice, and you can already tell, like, he sounds like Jim Varney. So, and, like, in his channel, he's, in the video, he's dressed like Ernest, and if there is ever anybody to continue the Ernest movies, I want it to be him. He should definitely... They should definitely, like, hire him to continue the Ernest movies. I know a lot of people would be like, oh, that's disrespectful. It'd be like if somebody were to make, like, new Charlie Chaplin films, like, make new shorts with, like, the Tramp, and then as Charlie Chaplin... They're like, it's not the same because it's, it's not Charlie Chaplin. But I'm sure, like, it could work. Like the Three Stooges movie they did a few years ago. It was good. Like, the cast was good. I like the three actors they got to play the Three Stooges, and some of the humor was on point. But the movie just kind of, when they went to do the crossover with Jersey Shore, that is kind of when it fell apart for me. I was like, oh, I even said at the time, I was like, this isn't going to age well. Anytime something like that, just like pop culture references that integrated into the story, like pop culture references, sure, like throwing a reference here or there. But, like, that's, like, a major part of the plot where, like, Mo joins the cast for, like, 15 minutes of the movie. People watching years from now, in fact, I'm sure kids watching now, they're like, what is that? No, I'm digressing again. My point is, they should hire this guy to be the new Ernest, because he's really good. Anyway, I am not going to spoil the end of this movie because, as I said, it is on Disney Plus. It is not a very well-known movie. The only person I really saw online talking about it was the Nostalgia Critic, and it was a really old video. Like, it was back when it was like the Square video, and it was like the bad audio back when he first started, like the early Nostalgia Critic. And I don't think he understood the concept of Ernest. I honestly was going to comment the video and say I think you should revisit this movie, because there have been times where he like tore a movie apart in the early days, and then he revisits it now and is like, yeah, I was too hard on this movie. And I think that would have been the case here, because like the way the film opens, like just for example, like the way the film opens, it has like old pictures of Santa, like old like drawings of Santa, like the Coca-Cola Santa, and it has like a very like a Christmas caroler singing like oh Christmas tree, and then like all these like Christmas carols, not just that, but there's like a few, and it's like a very serious. You're expecting like a serious like. He comments on it and says like the tone is so weird, and it's like it doesn't fit the rest of the movie. That's the joke. And I don't think he really understood like the humor in this. There's a lot of things that like if you grew up watching Ernest, but if you like understood the humor of like the Ernest movies, they're like absurd humor. They're silly and goofy and absurd, and it's kind of meant for kids. But like I said, like with the gel stuff, like adults can understand it too. And so like it's that kind of humor. Like he's basically like a little kid in an adult's body, and so like it's kind of that. And so he reviewed it as like, I don't know, like he didn't understand it. And there's a bunch of parts where he was reviewing it and was like coming at it from an angle where like either like he didn't understand it, and he would show a clip and not show the full context of the joke, or let it play out, and was like, yeah, this doesn't even make sense if you let it play out. And there's also like running gags in the Ernest movies, like with like I said, like the costumes and the different characters, and he got angry in his thing about it, in his video about it, talking about like when he does like the lady with the green, and he's like, "Tell me where he is," or I can't do the voice, and then like then a couple scenes later he's like, "Is this where the snakes are?" Or again I can't do the voice, and it's like that's the joke. Is it's absurd that he's able to do like switch the characters. And there's one of the movies, I forgot which one, I think it was Ernest Scared Stupid, where he's literally like switching characters like in mid conversation, which I'm sure if he had reviewed it at the time, you know, what is he's like running behind the thing, changing characters and coming back out. It's not supposed to make sense. You're not supposed to watch these and like add logic to it. They're not that kind of movies. And what makes it kind of confusing for me is that at the end he says it's stupid, but then says, "And I watch it every Christmas." So like it's not that like he just came across it and was reviewing it. He had seen it before. But yeah, like I could do a whole episode on Doug Walker. Like, I'm a huge fan of him and Nostalgia Critic, but at the same time, like... And then I proceeded to rant about Doug Walker for the next 15 minutes. I'm going to cut that out. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to end the episode here. I have one more episode for the year. And then, yeah, it is not a Christmas movie. This is the last of the Christmas movies. And I'm doing something different. It's episode 50, and usually with my 10, and every 10th episode, it's a double review. But I'm doing something different for... I had to change my original idea because circumstances. So I'm doing something... I mean this on two levels. I'm doing something different. I'm doing something different from what I usually do every 10th episode, and I'm doing something different from what I originally had planned for the 50th episode. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to end the episode here.